Let's talk about the Midi Editor. The Midi Editor is accessible by either using the grabber tool and double-clicking any Midi instance, or by going to Window, Midi Editor. Now the Midi Editor is a specific edit tool for Midi instances, and so the only tracks that you're going to see off to the left in the track list are going to be your Midi specific tracks. And what's great about this is that with your Midi, you can actually view all of them. If we click on the little gray dot, we can see all of our Midi tracks stacked together. And the blue is going to allow us to toggle between which one we're going to edit with. So if we grab our selector tool here, we can pick a particular range, and if we go to our grabber, our range turns into a marquee. We can select everything if we really like and begin to move. But if we want to focus on one thing or another, essentially we can zoom in and highlight, move them around, and make adjustments. Now, a couple things. We have a lot of the same tools that we have in the traditional main edit window. So we see the zoomer, the trim, selector, grabber, scrubber, and pencil. And those are all great. And they allow us to toggle into these modes. And then every time we come back to our Midi editor, that mode is still active. And then additionally, we have edit modes that are also here, and they're different than the ones that are being used in the main window. So if we go back to the grid mode here, we'll notice that over to the side, we have a couple of things that are happening. On this side, we have the resolution of writing to the Midi, and then we have the resolution of visible grid that's on screen. So you can see that here. If we switch to our pencil tool and we start to write, notice that because one bar over here is selected, it's going to write in one bars, like in one bar sections, but we still have visible editing in this 16th note section. So we still see the grid at 16th notes, which means we can make adjustments in 16th note increments as we add them. So let's take a look at this. I'm going to go to my arpeggiating bass here, and I'm going to write in a couple notes and click by clicking. And I'm going to use these three. I'm going to remove these previous three. You'll notice the piano rules here to allow us to visualize what lane of note we're playing. So each one of these lanes coming across the screen on a horizontal represents a note on the piano. Let's listen to this passage. Now down below in the lower portion of the editor, we see additional options for Midi control, things like velocity, sustain, and pitch bend. Velocity is the level of pressure that's being applied to the Midi note. So if I move it up and down, these can be either louder or quieter notes. If we go to the pitch bend, on the pitch bend, if I switch to the pencil tool, I can actually write in pitch bend instances up and down across this passage. Let's take a listen. So our Midi editor has a whole host of tools, and this is really where we get to be very complex with the edits that we make inside of our Midi.